Welcome to Easy to Love Yoga with Shanna. Today's chair class, we're going to use a strap, and we are also going to have our chair in the middle of our mat because we are going to get up and stand behind the chair for a couple of poses. So let's begin. Let's come seated forward in our chair so our glutes are on the chair, our hamstrings are off the chair. Feet are flat on the floor, nice 90-degree bend at the knees. Thinking about a nice tall posture here, resting your hands on your lap and closing your eyes. Noticing your breath. When you inhale, do allow your chest to rise and your belly to rise. Exhaling, allowing the belly to fall and chest to fall. Noticing if you're breathing deeply. Scanning the body now, starting at the crown of the head, working all the way down to our toes. Noticing any areas you need to be mindful of as you move through this practice today. Please remember, if a pose does not feel comfortable, you do not need to do it. Please wait for us to move on to the next pose. Always keep yourself safe in this or any other practice. Starting in 4 square breathing now, with an inhale through the nose of 4, 3, 2, 1. Retain your breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Retain the emptiness. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. Retain. Inhale, notice your posture. Retain. Exhale. Retain. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. Retain. Turning to your regular breath and noticing if you're breathing deeply. Gently open your eyes. Start by rolling your shoulders to the back of the room. Rolling the shoulders now to the front of the room. One more roll forward, making sure your strap is not too close to your neck. Bringing your hands down to your side. Shrug up for a count of 2 as we inhale. Exhale slowly for a count of 3. Releasing the shoulders. Shrugging up for a count of 2. Inhaling. Exhaling for a count of 3. Releasing the shoulders. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, release. 2 more. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, release. Now we're going to take our strap. We're going to bring it wider than hip width apart. We're going to allow the strap to balance on our thumbs and just close the fingers around the strap. We're going to start with the strap down by our knees. We're going to do a couple of rounds of cow and cat breath. So a cow breath is lifting your chin to the ceiling, inhaling, and a cat breath is arching your back towards the back of your chair, exhaling. So starting with a cow, inhale, looking up, bringing that strap up, inhaling. Now exhaling to cat, arching the back towards the back of your chair, lowering the strap to the knees. Inhaling up to cow, bringing that strap up. Exhale to cat, lowering the strap to the knees, arching the back. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat, bringing movement to the spine. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. And this time we're going to inhale up and keep the strap up over the head. Now we're going to sit nice and tall in our chair, and on an exhale, I want you to gently twist to one side, still looking up through the strap, stopping at that first sensation of the stretch and holding here, looking up at the ceiling beyond the strap. Holding one more breath. And slowly allow yourself to rotate forward, still looking up through the strap at the ceiling. And now let's slowly rotate to the opposite side, stopping at that first sensation, the stretch. Still gazing up at the ceiling beyond the strap. One more breath here. Slowly coming back to center, still looking up through the strap. This time I'd like you to lower one hand to one side until your opposite hand comes up, looking beyond that hand at the ceiling. One more breath. Slowly coming back to our starting position, still gazing up beyond the strap at the ceiling. And now lowering the opposite hand until one hand is pointed up towards the ceiling. Gazing beyond that hand, holding here, continuing to breathe deeply. One more breath here. And coming back to center. And now slowly lowering that strap. Let's roll out the shoulders to the back a couple of times. Roll the shoulders to the front. One more roll. Now we're going to take that strap and we're going to bring it around the sole of one foot. We're going to lift that foot up off the ground, extend that leg out, and hold that strap, both ends in the same hand. Taking that strap halfway, we're going to draw it across the opposite knee, keeping the foot flexed to protect the bent knee. And I want you to think about exhaling and slowly lowering the torso towards the legs, feeling a nice stretch in the hip. Now this shouldn't be painful. If it is, just rise up slightly. We're all going to have a different sensation in the stretch. Now if you can, lower just a little bit further towards the legs. Continue to breathe. One more breath here. Slowly allow yourself to rise up. And taking the strap once again into both hands, slowly lower the foot. This time allowing the strap to come up under and behind the knee and lift that same foot off the ground. We're going to rotate the ankle in one direction. Nice circles. Rotating in the opposite direction. And we're going to do a couple of rounds pointing and flexing. Pointing the toe, flex the foot, point, flex, point, flex. One more time. Point, flex, and allow that foot to come down to the ground. Remove the strap. Taking that strap and now bringing it across the opposite foot on the sole of the foot, lifting that leg off the ground, keeping a bend in the knee. Both ends of the strap into the same hand as the extended leg. I'd like you to reach halfway up the strap and draw that foot across the opposite knee. Keep the foot in the strap flexed to protect the bent knee. And on that exhale, lower forward, feeling a nice stretch in the hip. Continue to breathe deeply. Don't hold your breath. Now if you can, bring yourself a little bit closer to the legs, deepening that stretch. One more breath here. Slowly allow yourself to rise up. Strap in both hands, allow that foot to come down, and bring that strap up behind the knee of the same leg. Lifting the foot off the ground, rotating the ankle in one direction, sitting nice and tall in your chair. And let's rotate in the opposite direction. Changing now to a point and flex. Point, flex. Point, flex. Point, flex. And one last time. Point and flex. Allow that foot to come down to the ground. Now we're going to take that strap and we're going to set it aside. We're not using it for the rest of class. We're going to come up off our chair. We're going to stand behind the chair. So I'm just going to move my chair. Standing behind the chair now. I'd like you to think about your posture in this pose. So we're going to start holding both ends of the chair. We're going to have about a seat distance between the back of our feet and the chair. And we're just going to stay in here and come up onto our toes and lower back down. Now we're going to add to this, but we're going to close our eyes. We're going to lift up onto the toes, lower back down. Lift up onto the toes, lower back down. Lifting up to the toes, lowering down. Now this time you're just going to take your right foot and touch the back calf with your right foot, still holding onto the chair. And now we're going to come up onto the toes of the left foot. Lower down. Coming up onto the toes of the left foot. Lower down. Take the right foot away and place it on the ground. And now bring the left toes behind the right calf, holding the chair. Coming up onto your toes. Lower down. One more time onto your toes. Lower down. Both feet now flat on the ground. One last time, coming up on both toes. And lower down, opening your eyes. Beautiful. Now we're going to do a tree pose. So starting once again with seat distance between the back of your chair and your feet, holding on to the edges of your chair. I'd like you to root one foot into the ground and bring the opposite heel to the calf. Now, if you're comfortable, you can bring your hands to heart center, but I'm going to ask you to find a focal point in front of your chair, something on the floor that's not moving, that you can bring your full attention to. We call this your drishti. So bring your attention to your drishti, and when you're ready, bring your foot to your calf or your inner thigh, but not against your knee, as that pressure against your knee over time could cause damage. So foot to your calf or your inner thigh only, holding here. Now remember, you could also have your hands at heart center if you're comfortable. You can have just one hand on the chair or both hands on the chair. Find what works best for you today. Holding this pose. Now I'm going to ask everybody to grab onto their chair, and we're going to come up onto the toes of the foot that's rooted into the ground. Lowering back down. Coming up onto the toes. Lower down. Up onto the toes. Lower down. One more time. Up onto the toes. Lower down. We're going to release the foot from the calf. We're going to shake it out. Now we're going to root the opposite foot into the ground. Once again, bringing your heel to the calf. And again, you can have your hands at heart center. You could be holding your chair. Focusing on your drishti. And once you've found that balance, bring your foot to your calf or your inner thigh. Holding here. Remember, you can have your hands at heart center. Just one hand on the chair or both. Now I'd like everybody to hold onto their chair. We're going to rise up onto the toes of the foot rooted into the ground. Lower back down. Rise up onto the toes. Lower down. Rising up onto the toes. Lower down. And one last time, rise up onto the toes and lower down. And just shaking out both legs. Beautiful. Now we're just going to turn the chair around. So we want the seat of the chair now to be facing us. So we're going to take our hands and place it on the edges of the chair. We're going to step back nice and long so that we can just bring our feet flat to the ground and we can have our hands holding onto the chair. In a nice plank position, just come up slightly onto your toes, holding this high plank position. Continue to breathe deeply. Now we're going to add a change to this. We're going to come down onto our forearms on the chair, holding that plank position. Once again, coming back up onto the hands, holding plank. Now I'd like you to just rock your feet back So you can come onto flat feet. Maybe take a tiny step forward. Bend your knees slightly. Think about bringing your glutes to the wall behind you. Lowering your torso to bring your ears between your elbows. This nice down dog modification. Continue to breathe here. Knees are bent. One more breath. Slowly lifting the torso, coming back onto the toes into a high plank. Beautiful. Now I'd like you to hold on to the edges of your chair here. And we're going to come into a modified up dog. So we're going to lower the belly down and just look up. It's like a nice stretch in the lower back. Slowly coming back into plank. Placing the hands once again on top of the chair. Flattening the feet, bending the knees. Moving once again into down dog. Ears between the elbows. Bend in both knees. One more breath here. Lifting the torso. Coming back up into high plank. Gripping the edges of your seat. And now moving once again into up dog. Dropping the belly. Looking up. Coming back into plank. Bringing your hands once again on top of the seat. Flattening the feet, bending the knees, moving once again into down dog. One more breath here. Lifting the torso, coming back up into plank. One last time, grabbing the edges of your chair and moving into up dog. Moving back into plank. Bringing those hands to the top of the chair. Now we're just going to walk the feet halfway to the chair. We're going to lower our forearms down to the chair. Crossing one arm over the other. Lower your forehead down to your arms. Keep a slight bend in both knees. Just enjoying the sensation, the stretch. Coming up the back of the legs and the low back. Two more rounds of breath. Then coming onto your hands on the chair. We're going to bring one hand up to the sky, looking up towards those fingers. Bending the knees here. You can bend the opposite knee a little bit more. Will help you with this rotation. And bring that hand back down. Bending the opposite knee, bringing the opposite hand up. Rotating back to center, bending one knee, opposite hand to the sky. Coming back to center, bend one knee, opposite hand to the sky. Back to center. So you bend your left knee, bring your right hand to the sky. Back to center, bend your right knee, bring the left hand to the sky. Back to center. Once again, bring the forearms down to the chair. Cross one over the other. Lower the forehead to the arms. Slight bend in both knees. Enjoying this final stretch. Coming back up onto the hands. Rising up very slowly. And then we're going to come back to a seated position on our chair. Once again, seated forward in the chair. Glutes are on the chair, hamstrings off the chair, feet flat on the ground, 90-degree bend. Resting your hands on your lap, taking a moment, closing your eyes. Noticing your breath. Doing another scan of the body, starting at the crown of the head, working down to the toes. Notice any areas that have changed since the beginning of class. Perhaps you feel more energy moving through the body. Perhaps an area that felt a little achy feels a little bit better now. Perhaps not. We're just noticing, no judgment. Bringing your hands to heart center in front of the body. Thank you so much for participating in this class, for sharing your energy in this practice, and taking this mindful time for self-care, which is so important. I hope you've discovered it really is easy to love yoga. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.